I used to, how I used to send you Snapchats and stuff and be playing? It's been a little hard to stay.
You didn't want to give up that sentence. You're like, I have to finish it. I'm not going to stop for this young. It just kept going.
Speaking of innovation that excites, are you ready for today's episode, Rob?
I'm ready.
Today,
Looks like excitement.
Today is the day, the most exciting day, because this is the stuff that keeps me up at night, like dreaming of a better future, right? This specific field area. And that area, for today's episode of Keep It Simple with Bro, I was going to say I'm Rafa, but I'm Sako.
And I'm Serge Tankin.
Who?
What do you know? That's why you can't say that. System of a Down, the main singer.
Oh, I thought you said I'm Serge Tankin. I was like, Who are you searching for? But yeah, welcome back to the podcast. Thank you guys very much for tuning in. We appreciate all your time and your beautiful faces behind the camera there. There's something new. I have a very important thing to talk about for today.
We have to talk about it, and I have to put this pic away so I don't.
Yeah, it's too serious.
So I don't spam this the whole time you're talking. Yeah.
So you guys are all beautiful, but we have a really big favor to ask from you. Like, this is gonna sound a little silly.
But I'm watching too, so thank you.
Thank you. Could you please, if you like today's episode, you don't have to do it anyway.
Big mistake in sales. Don't give them an option, sir. Don't say if.
Option.
Yeah.
I'm not a salesman. I'm your best friend. But yeah, if you enjoyed today's episode, please leave a like, maybe subscribe. And if you do subscribe, me and Raf are here. We're going to be making every single episode better. See, if you actually noticed, if you guys have been following along, we changed our mic setup. And today's audio, I really hope it's not going to be horrible.
Yeah. Sorry about your ears, and any hospital bills you could send not to us.
Send it to Elon Musk?
Yeah.
Didn't make cool enough microphones, even though he has nothing to do with these. But yeah, we spent the last 2 hours preparing the audio and really praying that it fixes itself with this change.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's get into it. Today, we're talking about the evolution of aircraft propulsion.
That sounds cool.
It sounds complicated, and I'm glad you think it sounds cool, because this is the stuff that gets me excited.
And we're going to keep it simple.
So
Bro.
simple. Bro. You're not even ready for how simple today's going to be.
Really?
Because
sounds complicated, though.
it's so complicated. But we're keeping it simple, bro. So, basically, aircraft, planes, helicopters, all that jazz, it started off super duper basic, right? Just like everything else technology related.
Yeah.
We had these homies, everybody knows, the Wright brothers. They were doing something right. That's a knee slapper. So they had gotten the idea of airfoils, all that other stuff. They were like, we're going to make a very simple plane. But we're not here for the plane today. Today we're here for the thing that's generating thrust. Not in the bedroom. On the plane itself.
If anyone's here for this is the wrong video.
Wrong channel, guys.
Yeah.
So early planes, like the ones the Wright brothers made, they were using basically piston engines. So piston engines are what are in your car. Piston combustion engines, super cute.
Unless you got a Tesla.
It's not a car. So piston engines, super simple concept.
Yep.
It is a cylinder with a little rod coming into it. And the rod has a head that's the exact same size as the cylinder piston, like almost exactly. But there's like a small gap so that the rod can go up and down. At the top of it, there are two things that put liquid on one side and oxygen on the other. So combustible fuel and oxygen.
You need both those things.
Air. Yeah. Not just oxygen. It's just a mixture of air.
Yeah.
That is the basic concept of combustion, and keep that one in mind, because that's going to be like a reoccurring theme until we get to like more newer topics of technology, basically. So that piston setup, it pushes it makes a little explosion as soon as it compresses too much too high of a pressure, it pushes the piston down. The piston moves around the rod, and so it twists it. And that twist was going straight through a rod into the propeller. So the propeller...
Very similar to a car. It sends it to your wheels.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So they were like, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Because they had steam engines at the time, and they were like, this is awesome. What if we throw it into the sky, right? Like, how can we do that? And so in the beginning, they were using basically like wooden slabs, like a 2x4 basically, that went on both sides, sometimes 3 sides. And they had that spinning. And they're like, you know...
This isn't the best material.
The material was probably fine. However, maybe using squares and rectangles wasn't the best option. So what they realized is that the whole idea they had with the airfoil of the plane, what if we use that on the propeller? Because it's doing the same thing. It's just redirecting airflow, right?
Yeah.
Guys are geniuses, dude. They handcrafted out of wood the whole propeller. You know those things that you see on like helicopters and like, have you ever seen a plane with...
Yeah.
Imagine making one of those by hand. Imagine the precision.
Kind of insane. Yeah.
It's like, dude, hats off.
For that time, yeah.
I mean, like, they did a lot of other cool things too, but like that one thing is really incredible to me. Cause, like,
To get that right at that time with that technology.
How many times did they fail, do you think?
Quite a lot.
I would assume so.
But I feel like the time where they got in the sky worked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone hated it. Did you hear about so there was a news article published 5 days before the Wright brothers' first flight.
Yeah.
Like where they actually took off, and they're like, flight's never gonna happen.
They're just hating on them
Thousands
for
of
no
years
reason.
away or
Yeah.
And they're like, bet.
Yeah.
Like literally, like not even like a week later.
5 days later. Yeah.
So yeah, I feel like pretty cool dudes. Awesome introduction to their topic. They're using old ass engines, piston engines. As I said, they push down a rod, the rod twists, and that moves, and then that pushes air backwards. And so let's talk about how thrust is generated real quick. I thought that was maybe.
Yeah, we touched on it a little bit last episode.
Yeah. So thrust is the force generated by your mechanical system, basically. And what it essentially is the measurement of how much air is being pushed back. And so when you push air back, whatever's generating that thrust moves forward, and that's almost always connected to the plane.
Yeah.
That's why the plane moves forward. And so the more thrust you can generate, the more your plane moves forward. Now, take a really wild guess as to how much power do you think the Wright brothers were running on for their first plane?
I can't because I saw what you wrote over there, so I can't guess.
Well, it was 12 magnificent horsepowers.
Big horses. Back then, the horses were
Huge
strong.
horses, dude. They were carrying bricks,
Yeah.
planes.
That's more than I thought. I don't know. But like how much horsepower they would have done, but still cool. That it worked.
It did.
Like they got into the air with that, so.
Yeah, it just proves it's not about the power, it's about the way you use it.
Yeah.
Also, their planes were a lot lighter than the ones we had today. I think
That's
they were
true.
made out of like paper mache.
Origami, yeah.
So yeah, that's the basic concept. Thrust is generated when you push stuff back, and that's all thanks to our boy Newton. That's Newton's second law, I believe. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction, so that's why we're able to fly.
Yeah.
And so when we'll talk about more stuff in the future, but this Newton guy, physics,
He got it done.
I mean, you know, before that time, like anytime science is going on, there's like somebody who's like, that's the end of science. There's nothing else to explore. A decade later, someone
rookie
comes,
mistake. Yeah.
Decade later, someone comes. It's like, oh, actually, everything you guys knew is wrong. And so before Newton's time, we were doing stuff. We were building boats. We were making like bows and arrows. So there's someone doing math there, and they had concepts.
Yeah.
And he came, and then that all changed. And then like Albert Einstein came, and then half of the entire concept changed. So never stop dreaming. Maybe you can be the next Albert Newton. But yeah, I want you to keep that specific idea in mind, where
Thrust.
Thrust and how it's generated, like the way everything works.
Yeah.
So you just need to, whenever you make an action, something equally happens as a reaction to it.
Yeah.
And so that's how we're able to generate thrust with this. The propeller, the engine goes boom. The piston goes down, it turns the shaft turns the propeller pushes back air, and now the plane's being pushed forward because of it.
Yeah.
Beautiful concept. Piston engines. Horrible. Inefficient. Create lots of shaking. You know what doesn't do the shaking but keeps making the bacon?
What?
Rotary engines.
Mm.
Now, before the RX-7 fanboy in there starts glazing rotary engines,
Yeah.
the Winkle engine is not it, bro. I mean, it's cool. The amount of power you can generate with a rotary because of like its compact size, really nice.
Yeah.
It's way more stable than a piston engine because it doesn't have two rods going.
Yeah.
It's more just like a little donut that's spinning.
Spinning, yeah.
More like a Dorito, actually, in case of the
That's
Winkle
true.
engine.
Yeah.
So that one is a lot more efficient and space saving. So they actually tried putting rotary engines into aircraft because it's the perfect application for them. So in a rotary engine, it does what the word says, but I know rotary doesn't sound
Rotating.
Rotating. I for some reason I didn't realize that one until like recently. I was like, oh,
That's why
it's rotating. That's why it's saying. Rotaries, the Winkle rotary doesn't rotate perfectly on the one spot because it moves in a weird pattern.
Mm-hmm.
But so the general idea of it is that it's a rotational force, and that force directly goes to the propeller instead of going into a tube that turns and then goes to a propeller.
Okay.
So it's way less loss
Of power, like
yeah.
when it goes to the propeller.
Exactly. Yeah. So in case anyone likes cars, the power your engine makes is a lot more than the power your wheels see.
Yeah, like wheel horsepower and horsepower.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's because of basically mechanical loss. There's like heat, sounds, grinding, friction, all those things. They take up energy, and so you don't get all your stuff. But in a rotary engine, all your energy is put directly into the propeller.
Interesting.
So, boom.
I didn't know that about rotary engines.
Yeah, that's the
cool,
one benefit they have.
Yeah.
Where they connect like basically directly to the crankshaft. So it could exactly move the wheels.
Okay, instead of losing power on other parts.
Instead of having to go from a force going like this to a force moving in a circle, you're literally just moving in the circle yourself.
Yeah, just taking out some of the stages.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The extra steps. And another real benefit for rotary engines, like you know how Audi had that, I mean, this is going to be like a really niche audience, but the RS3 5-cylinder engine, super cool. However, it's uneven number of cylinders. You might be like, why does that even matter? Just spin them in the opposite direction so there's no jiggling. Well, that's 5 cylinders. That means one side is jiggling harder than the other. So now you need to add weight to counterbalance it. So piston engine is just not as efficient, not as powerful. I mean, you could be more powerful because it's easier to scale. You just add more rods.
Yeah.
Rotaries are a little harder. You just add more rotaries, so it's a little weird. But that's a step that people took to make propeller aircraft more efficient.
Interesting.
And you might be like, that's sick. I haven't seen a propeller aircraft except for the ones that are like $10,000 flying through the sky.
Yeah.
That's why. This was in 1903, by the way. We're talking 1903. 30 years later. Super cool time of period. Lots of technological growth, let's say.
Nothing bad.
Nothing. In 1930, there was nothing bad going on,
true.
I'm assuming.
Yeah. He was young. Sorry.
Too young, yeah. So there were these two dudes. There's an Englishman and a German guy. Both of them were trying to make an improved engine design.
Interesting.
You might have heard of it.
Let's hear it. What's their names?
I don't even think I have that in my notes.
Oh, okay. I thought you did.
Sorry, I did not. So the English guy made a patent for what the kids call a turbojet.
Ooh.
And the turbojet is an engine design that's way different. But it still uses the same 4 stages that we talked about in a piston engine.
Yeah.
Where it has air intake, compression of that air, combustion of that air, so boom, and then it pushes that air out somewhere.
Yeah.
Well, what a turbojet did is, again, it took that air. So have you ever seen like a plane's engine?
Yeah.
Like the engine on those big things, that's a turboprop.
Okay.
It's a little different. It's a way more advanced version, like the next stage of it. So the turbojet is essentially that same process where like it just has a big open mouth. Air is going to be as it moves, air is going forced through it.
Yeah.
And it's getting sucked up into a little area, and it has blades that are spinning like inwards with airfoils on them. So it redirects air into these other
Intake?
into these stopped airfoils.
Yeah.
It's just airfoil after airfoil. They are just in different directions.
Yeah.
To push it into like a straight line afterwards.
Interesting.
So this one forces the air together so that it's more compressed, and the one right after it expands it, and the one at the very end, so it's like a 3-stage thing in the compression cycle, it forces it into the right direction.
Interesting.
And then that pushes it, and that's just the air.
Yeah.
That pushes the air into like the little segment where they have their fuel being pushed in. So jet fuel, super cool stuff. Kerosene, beautiful. Also, super quick side note, kerosene is used as jet fuel just because it has a higher flash point, which means you can take it to a way higher temperature before it explodes or combusts.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Yeah. So it's basically a higher performance fuel.
Yeah.
You
should put that in your car. More horsepower.
People use jet fuel in race cars. I don't
the
think my
same
car
exact way? Just itself?
You could just put it on. Well, you have to do a lot more than that.
Yeah.
I think the Bugatti...
It doesn't use jet fuel. There's no way it uses jet fuel.
I mean, for their top speed run, I'm sure they try.
Put like E85 in there, bro. I don't know if they're putting jet fuel that's going to make the thing explode.
Well, what was it? Dodge with their Demon, they had the E85 option. I don't think they could afford
Oh,
jet
yeah.
fuel.
But it's like a mixture. You have to do some scientific formula to put the perfect mixture of E85 and 91 together to get 100 octane or something like that.
Do you expect Dodge drivers to be able to
do math. Yeah. The math was too complicated. They went to electric.
Yeah. Yeah, they're like, hold on, no one knows how to do this.
Yeah.
But yeah, so these two dudes come up with the turbojet. Huge leap.
Yeah.
Mainly because it can take the air, and then once it makes that explosion, it just throws it out the back. So super cool design. That's why don't stand in front of or behind them, because they're forcing air inwards and pushing him out at a really high heat. And you can't control that one the same way you can control a piston engine where you just put more fuel, like it spins faster. The way to control that would be to kind of same idea of putting more fuel, so that it's a more combustion. So it heats up the air, and because the air is hotter, it expands more while it's going out.
Okay.
So that one, you're basically pushing out more air.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the way they control power on those. And then, so that engine was used in a not so exciting, I mean, super exciting, not so peaceful time 9 years later.
Yeah.
The Germans came out with this really nice aircraft called the Heinkel He 178. And that was the first aircraft to fly with a turbojet engine.
Really? That was the first one?
That was the first one.
You see? War's good.
Well, I mean,
so much advancement.
Ingenuity comes in at the craziest times.
Yeah, not when everyone's at peace, everyone's
if you're relaxed,
good.
they start doing weird society things.
Yeah.
But if you're on board, that's when engineering takes
Caring
off.
about rights and all.
Yeah. So that was introduced. And at a time, like, it was during World War II, in case you didn't understand what we were looking at. But during that time...
It was OP.
It was so OP. Like, while the Americans were using their super cool P-51 Mustangs, they're like, we're the coolest dudes in the sky, and then you see someone fly
M5.
by you. What?
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah, up there.
It's like, while you're feeling the Top Gun, and some dude just goes double your speed right by you. It's like, I'm in a jet.
Yeah.
I guess not a jet at the time. I'm in a plane.
Yeah.
I'm going 200 miles an hour. I'm feeling cool. They're like...
They're just better in, like,
have
everywhere.
you considered 700 miles an hour?
German engineering. Yes.
And so that caused a lot of panic in like the Allies, basically, with their planes. And that's where the huge competition between them started.
Yeah.
And everybody came up with better and more intense turbojet engines. And it was really cool that the English guy and the German guy had two separate ideas for them. So when the English guy made his patent, he was like... And he found out that the German guy was making it because he lost rights to that patent like 5 years later because he didn't have the money to buy it again.
Big L.
Yeah. The German guy was making it. He's like, this guy's stealing my idea. He went to the German guy. He's like, oh, this is completely different.
Yeah.
And they became really good friends, apparently. And
That's interesting.
Yeah, so they started doing tours in the U.S. Mm-hmm. So this German dude genius, man. This English guy, also pretty smart, are doing tours in the U.S. to talk about like their engines and stuff.
Yeah.
And so
This is before the war.
This is before the war. This
Yeah,
is like
1930.
1935, like the late 30s.
Okay.
Right before the war. And so I get, bro, Hitler must have been so mad.
Yeah. You're giving out our secrets.
Heinz, why?
Yeah.
But yeah, so they were going on. That's like my favorite part of science, because like,
War?
I mean, the people working together with ideas that are like pushing each other forward, because of their little tool.
Like good competition.
Good competition, yeah. And it's like the cool thing about the members of academia, they're not haters that much. They're like the exact opposite of our people.
Yeah, like like actually trying to get better than the other person, but out of just care for technology, like advancing instead of being like, I'm better.
Exactly.
I'm more better.
Frank Whittle and Hans von Ohain were the people. So Frank Whittle is the UK guy. Huh?
I would have guessed. I would have guessed that was the UK guy. So you had the names.
I did have the names. It was just under fun facts that I, for some reason, didn't include in the overview. But so that happened. The war was crazy. Everyone was trying to best each other with their turbojet engines and different ways.
The Germans were ahead for a while before the other ones.
At least like a year or two.
Yeah.
Like they were racking out points, dude.
Yeah. In the air, they're OP. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they were OP all around.
That's true.
We won't talk about the tanks and stuff yet because that's completely different.
Another episode.
That maybe. I mean, damn. Yeah. And then because of that huge competition, they were like, we got to get better. And one way someone designed to get better was like, okay, this works off forcing air through it, right? What if we get a fan and put it in front of the turbojet, and that way we're sucking up air instead of just like waiting for it to come forward?
Interesting.
And that's where the turbo fan engine comes from. And the name is just in there. It's like the turbo
fan.
And there's a fan in front of it. And so that's the engines you see today on airplanes.
Okay.
That huge fan that they have going like whoosh.
Yeah.
Super cool stuff. And that was made in the 1950s. And the first one to introduce it was actually Boeing with their 707.
Hey, it's pretty cool. Good job, Boeing. I'm proud of you.
Yeah, and so that revolutionized like aircraft travel, commercial aircraft travel. It was the main differences between it were because of this big fan, it essentially builds like a whole cage around the turbojet.
Yeah.
And that the whole cage takes in the air from the turbofan. It's now more air, so it's a higher not higher concentration, just more.
Yeah, more volume of air.
More volume of air. And so it's giving a little bit of into that turbojet, and it's also pushing some from the sides.
Interesting.
So pushing it around it.
Yeah.
Air likes to travel in packs, as we learned about the things
Airplanes.
over the wing, right?
Yeah.
So what this whole design idea was, it's like, well, you have some power, some of this air getting superheated and then shot out the back, right?
Yeah.
The air to the sides of it was also being pushed out in a more intense way. And so in these big commercial airliners, they have a really high ratio. I guess it's a compression ratio, I think it's called.
Yeah.
And it's the ratio of how much air goes around the turbojet and how much air goes into it.
Okay.
So in like a commercial airliner, it'll be like 9-1. So like for every 1 pound of air that's going into the turbojet, 9 pounds are going around it.
Okay. Interesting.
Also, I had no idea until I started doing like actual math and research for it. They measure air in pounds.
Interesting.
Well, it's in kilograms, but Americans don't know what kilograms are.
Metric. Get out of here.
The mass of the air, basically.
Yeah.
Crazy stuff. And so, quick little fun fact. The newest commercial airliners with their turbofan engines, they can push around
25.
100 pounds per second of air.
That's a lot of air.
I don't even know how you measure that.
Yeah.
How do they know?
With a ruler.
I mean, there's obviously someone doing math, but like, how do you verify that? Someone's like,
yeah, it's 100 pounds.
This feels like it.
Yeah.
But
the old finger test. Yeah, that's gotta be.
It's not dry. So yeah, really cool design, and that's also used in fighter jets. Most of them actually still use turbofan engines.
Nice.
There's other versions of the turbo
Like variations of it.
there's like new advancements, but they're mainly hypersonic focused and for like intensity focused.
Yeah.
I can't go too much into detail for that right now.
He's gonna waste another episode.
We're actually gonna get an expert in this field to talk about
Amazing.
because I actually don't know much about it.
Yeah.
This is like
And we'll learn more. We'll learn more that way.
So excited to talk to him, dude. I'm getting excited just thinking about it in the least weird way.
Thinking about him. Oh my goodness.
But so super cool stuff is coming. So the turbofan engines that they're using in like a fighter aircraft, right?
Yeah.
Like the F-15 has 2 turbofan engines.
Sick.
The compression ratio of those engines is like 0.5. So most of the air is going directly into the engine instead of around it.
Yeah.
So while the bigger airliners are trying to be more fuel efficient and it's like quieter because they have like more air going around, it's like a bigger sound cushion. It's all beautiful. The fighter jets are like,
We don't care about that.
what's fuel economy?
Yeah. Unlimited budget.
Yeah, literally. And so because all they're worried about is the best performance.
Yeah.
Not the best fuel efficiency. Even though fuel efficiency is actually higher with a lower compression ratio. Don't know how that works. But so
They just care about power.
they just care about the power and they care about the control they have over it.
Yeah.
So the way that they have designed these, it just is pushing most of the air out of the hole,
Yeah.
out of the engine. And so if you look on pretty much any recent aircraft, like the Russian ones, the Russian Su-27.
My favorite.
Really,
I'm kidding, not my favorite.
It looks really pretty.
Yeah.
It's cool. The Russians make cool looking aircraft. Not the best performing aircraft, that's for sure. But if you look at it, it actually has 2 nozzles on the back that they have little gyroscopes on. So I don't know how anyone's supposed to like.
Understand what, a gyroscope?
No, like so it has a hole. My hand is the hole. And the way it does it, it has motors that it turn it and then it can turn to be upwards. And there's another motor that can turn it to be up and down. So they have 2 separate, like, actually, they don't tell people how they make this. I'm just assuming. Because if you look at it in motion,
figured it out.
goes woot, and then it goes woot. Something tells me there's 2 separate components in there at
Yeah.
least. And so they have like little exhaust tips like we do on our cars, except they can control their exhaust tips. And that's how fighter aircraft are able to control the way that they're moving.
Interesting.
So
That's
instead
cool.
of just having to use their control surfaces that we learned about in the last episode, they can actually use the thrust itself to change their direction.
Yeah.
And that's what...
That gives them more control, I would imagine.
Yes, so
Yeah.
much more control. Like, have you seen Top Gun?
No,
Really?
unfortunately. Yeah, kind of crazy.
Super cool movie.
Yeah.
So then there's this really famous maneuver that the Russians do. It's called the Cobra maneuver, I think it is, where the plane's going directly up, and they're able to literally stand it up, like, and then float back down and forward. And that's all because of the level of control they have over their exhaust tips.
I've seen that.
Yeah,
Actually,
the little video. We'll
Yeah.
put it up right here. Thank you.
It's-
We'll put that video up right here. Super sick. Kind of crazy.
yeah.
The F-22 can do something really cool as well, but we're not talking about that yet. So that's all because they're able to control their turbofan engine so well.
Interesting. But the, like, American jets can't do that, where they control where the exhaust is pointing?
They do that. They just do it in a different style.
Okay.
So that like specific design that I was trying to like demonstrate with my
Yeah.
hand and that cup holder, it's just not what we use. We use more like. Speaking of the F-22, perfect thing to talk about.
Yeah.
So the F-22, really popular aircraft. I don't know if you've ever heard of it.
Good lease deals.
Design.
Yeah.
Very only like 150 million each. Yeah, super good lease deals. So their engines have kind of like a more rectangular design, and they only go up and down.
Okay.
So it's not the same level of control that the Russian ones have, but it is way more power. It is higher thrust, but the Russian planes can go faster sometimes.
Interesting.
So that actually takes us perfectly into the next technological advancement.
Yeah.
They realized that this air, if you heat it too much to go too fast, you start melting the internals of your turbojet.
That's not a good thing.
Not a good idea.
Yeah, with
Not
my
the
minimal
best.
knowledge, I know
If
that.
you're in
But
the air and the thing that's keeping you up there breaks,
melts.
not good for your health.
Yeah.
So then they're like, okay, all right, if we can't do it internally, we need this air to be hotter, right? We can't do it internally. What if we do it after it's left the turbo jet?
What do you mean?
So that's where afterburners come in, because they burn the air after it's out of the engine.
That's interesting.
It's pretty insane, and that superheats there, so it's a higher, it's more thrust,
Yeah.
but it also destroys your fuel.
Yeah.
And the reason it is, you're just dumping fuel into the air. Like,
Yeah.
you know how people's cars backfire?
Yeah, it
there's
makes
a
sense.
purpose for that in airplanes. So with those afterburners, they're able to go way faster for very short periods of time.
Interesting.
For example,
On a quick getaway.
very quick getaway. If
Yeah.
you need like 7 seconds to live, but you're going like Mach 2.5 for those 7 seconds.
Yeah.
So for example, I think it was this Su-27. I don't fully know. There's a lot of them. They make you know how they make like an iPhone every year?
Yeah.
The Russians make a new plane every 5 years. And it's been a long time since they've been
Start making planes. Yeah.
So during the time in the 1970s, during the Cold War, there was this really cool plane, my favorite plane, the SR-71. I like to say it's my favorite plane. Second favorite plane, SR-71 Blackbird.
I've seen it in Lancaster.
That thing used another level of engines that
Yeah.
were based on the turbojet engine. That one uses scramjet engines.
Not as cool name, but okay.
Really? I thought that was the coolest name.
Scram?
Scramjet.
Nah, bro.
I don't know. I think it sounds even more
Scram.
futuristic. Maybe it was a ramjet? I think those are two separate engines, actually.
Okay.
So
So tell me about it. Let's see how cool it
the
is.
design of it is, I think the guy coming, the gentleman, the member of academia coming onto the podcast is going to have a way better understanding of this design.
Yeah.
Mainly because he's also a fanboy of the plane. So the whole idea of it is, okay, we're compressing the air once it gets into our engine. What if, when you're 70,000 feet in the air, the air is a little thinner than it is down here.
Yeah.
And by that I mean it's like 2% of what it is down here.
Yeah.
So in order to have your engines that perform at a level where like you can stay afloat at 70,000 feet, you need to have way more air intake.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're like, how do we do that? How do we do that? So the cool dudes at Skunk Works over at Lockheed Martin, they were like, okay, Rolls Royce. But so they're Rolls Royce engines, but designed by I forget the dude's name.
BMW.
It's been a long time since I've read the book.
Okay.
But so it was designed by this dude. He was their aerodynamicist. And the whole idea of it, there's like basically a nose cone. Have you seen on those rockets in like Goofy movies where they're super pointy?
Yeah.
Basically that. So they're putting one of those in the front hole of a turbofan engine, basically.
Okay.
And that you can move forward and backwards to control like the amount of air coming in. And so when you're up in the air, that little nose cone kind of compresses the air already. And for some reason and somehow, magic of aerodynamics, it sucks in way more air because now there's a cone there instead of just being a big hole.
Yeah.
So it uses some weird principle that actually your I think it's called Bernoulli's principle. Wherever the air, have you ever held a Dyson vacuum where they have the big hole in the middle?
Yeah.
And so what the Dyson vacuum does is it just blows air from the outsides only.
And it just pulls another around
Exactly,
it. Yeah.
But the vacuum's not doing any of that. It's using Bernoulli's principle to do that.
Yeah.
So that engine was using the same principle, but I don't fully understand how it works because now you have something in the way and it's still sucking up more air.
Yeah.
If you see an SR-71 in real life, take a look at the engines. There are two massive things. On the back, they float in the air like they're like angelic creatures on the thing. Sickest thing in the world. But those were able to suck in enough air, so basically 50 times more air than anything else so that they can stay afloat
That high in there.
that high in the air. And they weren't just that high in the air. They were that high in the air cruising at 2,400 miles an hour. That is Mach 3.
Yeah.
That's
That's pretty crazy.
That's a
and
lot.
actually, depending on and also what year it was made is pretty crazy too.
Yeah,
It was
right?
made a while ago, bro.
That's 55 years ago.
Yeah.
Shout out to the U.S.
Yeah.
You better be doing some secret stuff.
Yeah. Shout out to Lancaster. That's what that.
Yeah, right.
I see them. I always
That's
pass
actually
by them.
exactly it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I wish I could go there more often if it wasn't the blazing
No, you
desert.
don't. No, you don't.
I mean, like once a year.
That-
So yeah, that engine developed for supersonic flight consistently, and that was before afterburners.
yeah.
So it still had afterburners it can use to go faster if it wanted, but it was already outgunning or outclassing everything.
Yeah. There's no point in using that at that point.
It's like, what's gonna touch me?
Yeah.
And there was this cool story about one where it was flying over Russia, taking Soviet Union, taking pictures from 70,000 feet in the air, figuring out what pack of cigarettes this one dude was smoking on the ground.
Yeah.
And one of their engines blew out near I think they said it was around Serbia. So it was it was right above the Mediterranean Sea, somewhere in the Soviet area.
Yeah.
One of their engines blew out. And these guys are doing Mach 3.
Yeah.
Like consistently.
Not ideal.
Yeah. But because of the design of the plane and because of the avionics that they had on board, so the electrical systems that they had on board of this plane, it was able to control itself, and the pilots were able to relax themselves into a way where they slowed down just enough to stay afloat, and they started going over France, and they were looking for a place to land, because when you're a few $100 million government program plane, there's only 9 of them in the entire existence. You don't want to crash. You don't want to give anyone the secrets of your technology. They're like, okay, we got to go somewhere that's going to keep our secrets safe. They went to France. France sent up 2 fighter jets to say hello. Makes sense, if I'm being honest. The SR-71's scary looking.
Very scary looking.
It's big. I don't know how to describe
the shape of it's crazy too. It doesn't look like what usual fighter jets even look like.
SR-71.
Pink.
So it's like the size of a parking structure. That's insane.
Yeah, it's huge. Yeah.
So yeah, the 2 French fighters pulled up. They're like, "Excuse
y'all
me?
lost?" Yeah.
What? And the SR-71 pilots are like, "I'm landing here. I need to land. My engine's blown." They're like, "No." And he's like, "No, I'm landing here."
Yeah.
So they ended up landing after some conversation into some friendly airspace, or I guess land space. I don't know what you call that. And after some Americans coming to pick it up or fix it, able to get that cool guy back home. And just for reference, right? When you're traveling on Mach 3, to go from Palmdale, California, so basically LA, all the way to the tip of Washington, it took them an hour. It takes you 3 to 4 hours to fly there on a regular plane.
Yeah, crazy
which math
speeds.
makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely, bro.
But imagine crossing the whole country.
Yeah.
By the time you figure out your engines.
You meant Washington D.C.
The Washington State.
Oh, Washington. Up.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Washington D.C. It takes an hour and a half, maybe 2.
Okay.
Because it's I think it's 3,000 miles away. Wow, that's insane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it'll be around that time.
Yeah, I'm basically an hour. Almost.
That should be commercial, bro.
Funnily enough, they're actually working on that.
That would be crazy.
I think it was NASA in partnership with Lockheed Martin. Who would have thought? Lockheed Martin working on more planes. They came out with a new design of a supersonic plane, like a small jet, like a private jet size.
Yeah.
That is able to go faster than the speed of sound without making the little sonic boom.
How is that possible?
I don't understand it.
Yeah. Because you break the sound barrier.
Yeah, it looks like it's just delaying it, so it's just edging the sound. It's really
You're just
weird.
taking it the whole time.
It's because whenever you break the sound barrier, the little the little moment right before you break it, you're at 30 times the atmosphere's pressure that you'd normally be at.
Yeah.
That's a lot for human beings. I'm pretty sure we'd get crushed. But if you're in a plane made of metal, if they knew what was going to happen. I'm sure the first people who broke the sound barrier also broke the plane.
Yeah. and their brains.
And their brains. And so, they're working on it. I don't fully understand it, but it's kicking back the sound, the breaking into the sound barrier part. So instead of being at the sound barrier, we're just bang, 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 bang.
Yeah.
bang.
So they're 1 mile per hour off the sound barrier, just so it doesn't break.
I have no idea how fast it can actually go. There's no I don't think they've published that yet, but it's coming apparently.
Yeah. Hopefully they call us for some testing.
I would love to have you pilot the aircraft.
You trust me? You'll be in the back?
Sure, I'm down. That sounds pretty comfortable. I'm sure they have AI systems to fly it anyway. But yeah, so a nice little segue from turbofan engines,
Yeah.
propeller engines. They didn't give up at that time.
Yeah.
The U.S. military is like, no, bro, we need to figure this out. Somebody needs, because propeller engines are still more fuel efficient. You can't just keep bursting through your entire fuel tank.
Yeah.
We need something to support our bombers. These huge planes that have huge spaces for storing fuel. We need a fuel efficient plane. Propellers are the way to go. They were using piston engines, nerds. So propellers are the way to go. And they came up with this project called the XF88, I think, or the XE88F, something like that.
Yeah.
It was a turboprop engine, so super powered, turbocharged, whatever propeller engine.
Yeah.
Looks really cool. Super interesting. It actually incorporated a design where it was able to rotate its propellers, the propeller knives. Yeah, the propeller.
Blades?
The propeller blades, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I was thinking, knives. So I was able to rotate the propeller blades to change their angle of attack.
Yeah.
So depending on if you're like on takeoff or in supersonic flight, it would be like at a different angle. So it was cutting more or less there.
Yeah.
And so it looked really interesting. And the reason it was developed was because, again, they need to support the bombers, but also these turboprop and turbojet engines, they take a long time for them to get spooling. Because at the time of, I think it was like the 1960s or 70s again, while Lockheed Martin was making a Mach 3 airplane that just cruises.
They're making propeller.
Yeah, they're like, let's figure this out. Dude.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's something.
Nothing better than this.
Yeah. So they got into there, and interesting design. There's a slight problem. They needed to make the blades long enough so that you can push enough air to go fast. You need to generate a specific amount of thrust.
Yeah.
You know, when you're moving a propeller, it moves very quickly. Mm-hmm. And the further away you get from the actual point where it's spinning, the faster you're going, right?
Yeah.
So the tip of these blades, while the plane was idling, were moving at Mach 1.1, which means they're loud.
Yeah.
So before it even took flight, it got the nickname of Thunder Screech because it was deafeningly loud.
Yeah.
And so imagine how stupidly loud it must have been once it was in
the sky. Yeah.
Imagine being the pilot.
But there's some cool sounds, like in videos of how it sounds.
It sounds horrifying. Like, you know those Aztec death whistles?
Yeah,
That's exactly
one of those in
what
there.
I imagine, yeah.
Like hundreds of them going there. It's cool, like hearing it, not like being in one.
I can't imagine.
Or having one fly towards you.
Or anywhere in your general vicinity.
Yeah.
So it didn't go into full production, as you might have guessed.
I wonder why.
But it got some cool research in. They were able to develop nicer ideas of angles of attack. And now we use propeller engines, or we use propellers in private jets and stuff, like smaller airplanes.
Yeah.
Because you don't always need a massive, expensive, hard to maintain turbojet or a turboprop. Turbofan.
You also use it here?
Yeah, I mean, these are actually using electric motors, which have nothing to do with what we're talking about.
Yeah.
But that's a great...
putting thrust down.
You're making a great point. That's exactly what they're doing. Electric motors are the future. So electric and hybrid propulsion is the newest stuff that people are going crazy over. There's tons of startups coming up. Mm-hmm. Billions of dollars being invested. Hundreds of companies falling off every year that are trying to make electric travel possible.
Yeah.
So generally they're going for eVTOLs. Electrical vertical takeoff and landing. That's what eVTOL stands for.
I played Black Ops 2, yes. Of course.
Yes.
They had those.
The Harrier.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Very cool plane.
Yeah.
Not the coolest anymore. There's too many planes to talk about. And I could spend all day telling you about the different planes that I like.
But it's just cool about the vertical thing.
Vertical,
instead of like having to take them just by.
top tier for aircraft carriers.
Yeah.
You don't even need a runway anymore.
Yeah.
You could be a helicopter. And a really cool part about that is that it's able to generate enough thrust going upwards. So it's basically a rocket ship.
Yeah. Not for like the full time, but
Yeah. Well, it can hover.
yeah.
It can. Cool little thing.
Yeah.
I swear, only one. Only one note. A harrier is a bird, and the specific cool part about that bird, the reason it's called a harrier, is because the actual bird, the harrier, while it's searching for prey, it just does this little stance, and it's able to stand still midair, like for a long time.
Interesting. Like the harrier. So that's why it's named after
That's
that.
what it's named after. No more random joke. Random.
It's
like, autism
enough.
fact. I'm sorry. But. So yeah, because technology is moving forward, we're getting better with batteries. We're getting better with electric motors, as you see here.
Yeah.
People are trying to use that to make air travel way more efficient and way less, maybe costly to the environment.
Yeah.
Because when you're burning kerosene, it's not too good for the ozone layer, as the kids complain about all the time. CO2 emissions. I don't even know what that is. I failed chemistry almost.
Yeah, but if you do any research on electric things, that's not the best either.
Unless you're trying to use solar power or nuclear power boys.
Yeah, I love nuclear.
I can't wait for a future episode about nuclear power.
Yeah.
I met a nuclear engineer. He's a little out of our league currently, but I think we can convince him if we get to like 100 followers or something, subscribers.
Yeah.
So electric vehicles and hybrid propeller engines. The reason they shine is because they can go on without using any actual fuels, and they're just using batteries.
Okay.
So all of these can be powered by one battery. And that makes it way less explosive at times, depending on how you look at it, because batteries can also be combustible.
Yeah.
Very combustible. But their plan is to reduce emissions and lower operating costs, because fuel is expensive.
Yeah.
Electricity is not. Also, making an electric motor is a lot easier than making turbo fan engine.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
And you can probably just switch batteries on landing and takeoff. Like
That's
not
a
like
great idea.
not like
Just
charge
swap it out instead of
Yeah,
having
of course. It's not supercharger your VTOL at the Tesla
4 days later.
Yeah.
That's actually a great point. I've never even considered that, because like you could just swap it out,
Yeah.
so you don't have to sit there at a charging station for decades.
Mm-hmm. You come to your what was the thing you just said? The military boats, not boats.
Aircraft carriers.
Yeah, those aircraft carriers. Just land there, swap, and you go.
Some dude just
It's like AA batteries. He just takes them out, puts it in.
learning from Tesla.
Yeah.
But yeah, they are also way quieter, and you can control your blade so you don't break the sound barrier as often.
As often.
The only downside currently for these planes is that they are really short ranged. There's a company that failed recently.
Failed. Sounds like fun.
There's a European company, and they were kind of doing cool. They had a fully functioning basically one of these drones as their eVTOL vehicle, and it had a range of like 270 kilometers. I was like, that's not bad. I'm like, no, that's not even from here to Vegas.
Yeah.
But that's cool, It's free travel.
Starting somewhere.
It's like, imagine if Uber just started being eVTOLs.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
That's pretty cool. Hey, just like the Wright brothers. You got to start somewhere. And that's not bad.
And yeah, they've only ruined hundreds of billions of dollars so far.
And
But
also
hey,
their company, you saying failed?
I mean, there's lots of dying startups for eVTOLs. Most of them don't even get a full functioning aircraft in the air.
Happens.
It happens all the time. But another cool advancement aside from air pipes.
Pipistrel Tauros Electro. Is that what you're reading?
Harbor Air. No, these are different companies. I don't know why I wouldn't add the one that I actually wanted to talk about up there. But these are also great examples. So Harbor Air also had a commercial aircraft, which was a larger sized hybrid vehicle.
Hybrid. What would be hybrid about? What would be using?
So if you have let's say you have a plane that uses props.
Yes.
electric motors to take off.
Okay.
So electrical vertical and takeoff and landing. But then it has like propellers, like
To push you forward.
yeah, like you have like conventional engines to fly forward.
Yeah, and then also using it then to land vertically.
Yeah, and then you use your propellers to land vertically again. So that kind of eliminates the need for a runway. It makes it, I guess, way less painful because then you could just park it in your garage instead of having to pay your airport fee. Dude, the future is going to be so cool if we could pull those kinds of things off.
I'm sure that the hybrid ones, just like Priuses, would be more cost efficient too.
Definitely,
Yeah.
yeah, right? Until we get to like the crazy like advanced electric cars, like until we get to like I don't know if Tesla's crazy advanced. I'm saying Tesla's crazy advanced compared
Yeah.
to the first Prius. So until we get to the Teslas of air travel, electrical air travel, then these hybrid options are probably going to be the coolest ones.
We need Elon to work on that. He would get it done like 6 months.
I think he was talking about an aircraft company, like commercial aircraft company. Or when he was asked about it, he said he doesn't have the time currently. So homie's thought about it.
Yeah. When he gets some free time, he'll do it. When he has like 10, 15 minutes of
I think he needs one of his kids to take the mantle, bro. He needs somebody to take one of the companies so that he can focus on another one.
Yeah.
That's a lot of
One of his 18 kids or something.
yeah. One of these 18 kids have to be the come up. Okay, now, what if instead of moving away from kerosene and into electric, we swap over just a different fuel type?
Mm-hmm.
Have you heard of hydrogen?
I've heard of that.
Instead of burning oxygen.
Yeah.
So hydrogen fuels are a little more flammable, so it's a little more dangerous, but it's also way more sustainable and efficient because there's way more hydrogen in the world than there is kerosene.
Yeah. But hydrogen cars do suck.
I mean, for now.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
for the last 20 years.
Yeah.
They've been sucking pretty hard. But their goal is to have alternatives for their like commercial airlines, for
Yeah.
Delta, JetBlue,
Whatever they are.
for
Yeah.
some reason ran out of every name I've ever heard before.
Yeah.
But their goal is to move to like a zero emission plane flight.
That would be awesome.
F1 cars already have zero emission, and they use alternative fuels like I think like corn fuel was one of the options while they were trying to figure it out. They're using alternate fuels in order to try and reach some like equilibrium where like we're not harming the planet, even though China's burning millions of tires every year, which is destroying everything. We're not harming the planet.
Don't worry about that. Yeah.
Yeah, so its goal is to reduce its fuel. Their goal is to reduce life cycle carbon emissions by up to 70%.
Okay.
So which means
That's
like
a big goal.
that's a pretty good goal, yeah.
Yeah.
Like imagine if the plane was more efficient than like 10 cars. That'd be pretty huge. It's actually something that you see pretty often when you're booking flights. It's a note that they have now where like, oh, this flight is 6% more fuel efficient or more carbon friendly than the average flight or something. So it's actually putting putting them in competition to do better than each other.
Yeah. I want to pick the one that has most.
It's actually Spirit.
Most carbon like footprint ever.
It's the cheaper economy ones.
Oh, okay.
They have
Makes
the
sense,
older
right?
planes, yeah. So Airbus, they're the French company that is kind of the rival to Boeing.
Mm-hmm.
The Airbus A320, no one's going to know that. But when you see your plane card, if it says A2 something, A3 something, that's Airbus. If it says 7 something 7, that's Boeing. And the cool benefits between those is like they're at competition, so it's not a monopoly.
Yeah.
Boeing's driving the monopoly towards Airbus's direction currently.
Yeah. Don't worry, Disney will buy them.
Yeah. Disney, the number one flight. You get Disney Plus if you fly for us. Yeah, so Airbus's goal is to have a fully hydrogen-powered aircraft by 2035.
It's around the corner.
Yeah, apparently. And I'm assuming AI is actually going to push that goal even closer. Because the combination of having something that can infinitely learn and recognize patterns is going to be very helpful for developing science. Oh,
Helping him with the research,
circling
simulations.
back, dude. Yeah.
The what?
Circling back to it. AI is awesome, dude.
Yeah.
Imagine all the potential.
Maybe AI can convince people to not get rid of engines.
Maybe AI can convince people to let us go back to using nuclear power.
Yeah. Or V12s in every car.
Oh, that'd be cool. That'd be a good trade-off.
Yeah.
A nuclear powered V12.
Then no more. There'll be no emissions.
No emissions.
Yeah. But if one car explodes, the whole town has to get out of there.
See, that's the funny thing, though. Nuclear
Chernobyl?
power is so safe.
Yeah.
The only issues came from mismanaged plans.
Yeah, 100%.
And shitty people working.
Yeah.
I'm not saying the people of Chernobyl deserved what happened, but it was the fault of the technicians.
Yeah.
And the kind of designers, which is like the problem
Yeah.
everywhere.
People. As in what you're saying, yeah.
Well, I mean, human error is kind of like baked into every problem in the universe because we're humans, we make mistakes.
Yeah, but it could have been prevented, is what
Yeah,
you're
that's
trying
what
to
I'm
say.
trying
Yeah.
to say. It's like if someone was actively there fixing the thing that needed to be fixing, monitoring, and being like, oh, the heat's double what it needs to be. Maybe
Yeah.
let's turn it off. I think they would have been okay. But yeah, it got out of control because the standards weren't there. In the
They also
US,
ignored some of the things. Some red flags.
There you go.
Yeah.
I'm sure the red flags turned green for the nuclear waste.
Yeah.
So yeah, as long as there's human intervention and people regulating it, the U.S. has way too many regulations, dude. It takes like $1 billion just to start up a nuclear power plant.
Why
Or
is it
just to
so
have the
hard?
I wish me and my best friend here can start our own nuclear
Yeah.
power plant.
If we get 10,000 likes on this video, we will.
We'll
Consider.
raise $1 billion to start a nuclear
We
power.
will. I feel like it's more. I don't know.
It could be. I mean, just the regulation fees and stuff are about $1 billion.
Yeah, but we'll ask Arthur for real estate.
I mean, I'm
To
sure he
help
can
us.
get enough land.
Yeah.
I think he's swapping over to insurance or something now.
For do you do nuclear plant insurance?
Dude, that's gonna be expensive.
Yeah. But if we go to Lancaster,
Lancaster Force.
we'll get some cheap. We get a lot of cheap land to put
That's
in a
actually a
nuclear.
pretty good point. But then how are we?
We'll be
gonna-
next to Lockheed.
I don't think they want us next to us, but that's a good point. But what do you? How are you gonna get employees if you're out in Lancaster?
Go to Lockheed Martin. Like, I'll pay you $2 more an hour. And then they'll be like, I'm getting paid like $1,000 an hour. Never mind.
It's like my salary's more than your lifespan.
But we have free coffee.
We actually have a gym that has benches and squat racks instead of just treadmills.
Yeah, but it's like the ones in like the Africa gyms. Just wood. Just a big piece of wood in there.
Nuclear waste barrels. But hey, that's a great idea and a beautiful subject for another episode.
On us,
making
one of the
a nuclear
episodes will
power
be
plant.
how can we make a nuclear power plant?
I actually
Go
love
step
that
by
idea.
step.
Nuclear power is also one of
AI
them.
will help us. Yeah.
AI nuclear powered.
Then it can never explode. It'll be perfect.
What was today's topic on?
Propellers.
Oh yeah. So let's recap propellers. Mm-hmm. Would you mind doing the honors?
Propellers.
I'm sorry, I keep putting
Equals
you on the
thrust.
spot. They do thrust.
And then they go to turbojets.
Yes. And then they do
And then you
turbo
said
fans.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
And then you said something about a Cobra move. And then SR-71 has some kind of cone in the middle.
it does. It
Yeah.
makes this. It uses a ramjet engine.
Yeah.
So evolution.
And something about Rolls-Royce.
Rolls-Royce. Oh, actually,
Those are the main topics.
a picture that hopefully we'll remember to put up during the talk about turbojets and turbofans
Don't forget, Suck.
is And Rolf, you're going to be helping me edit this. Where are you going?
So, Ron Rolf.
So the really interesting thing about it is that if you look at a turbofan engine, it's literally just a turbojet with like an enclosure around it. So you'll see from the picture that we put up and another picture that we might put up if we remember.
Yeah.
It's literally the exact same thing. They took this, and then put it inside of this. And that helped improve its air efficiency, made it way less noisy, and somehow produce more power.
Interesting.
So human ingenuity.
Science.
Science. We're scientists.
Yeah.
But the takeaway message here is human ingenuity does not come from being alone.
Yeah.
It comes from sharing your ideas,
Working together.
working together,
And
releasing the
World
regulations.
Wars. Sorry. What?
Two very close ideas, actually. At least regulations on science is
Yeah.
what I was going for. and give him more funding.
Yeah.
All the money you have, give it to Lockheed Martin.
Yeah.
Sometimes Northrop Grumman's cool too. And this new company, Anduril,
sorry,
hit him up too.
Sorry, Lockheed's logo is the best.
The skunk?
Yeah, that's the best, bro.
It is way cooler. But yeah, if you enjoy this episode, please like, share with your friends.
Subscribe.
Send hate mail to me this time. Subscribing would be cool too.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you for joining us on Keep It Simple, bro.
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 Thanks for having me.
This video right here.
This one's good too. Right here.